On Halloween night, while Elvira is parading and handing out candy, Fred disguises himself to track down the villain. Soon his device locks onto the target, so Velma and Daphne quickly gather their gear. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are too frightened to step out of the van and join the others. The very next moment, an explosion erupts and the haunted scarecrow appears. He keeps laughing maniacally and hurls glowing red orbs to terrorize the townsfolk. But the scarecrow has chosen the wrong night, because when Mystery Inc. is around, no villain can ever slip through their hands. While Fred, Velma, and Daphne struggle to fight him off, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy stay busy stuffing themselves with food just to calm their nerves. Then Velma seizes the moment when the scarecrow isn't looking and fires an arrow straight at him to try to end the chaos. At the same time, Fred uses a special device to disable the drones, making the red orbs useless. Before long, Velma unmasks the scarecrow and reveals Dr. Jonathan Crane, a former psychology professor from Gotham City who has turned into a supervillain after escaping Arkham Asylum. But unlike other villains who usually say, "I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids," Jonathan Crane unveils a far darker plan. He wants to detonate all the drones and flood the entire town of Crystal Cove in order to escape justice. Luckily, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy jump in just in time to stop him. Thanks to the candy bullets Scooby-Doo shoots from his mouth, Crane's drones are destroyed one after another. Once again, Mystery Inc. proves that every terrifying monster is nothing more than an ordinary person hiding behind a mask. Everyone is about to celebrate when the sheriff steps in and interrupts, declaring the area a federal crime scene. Jonathan Crane is handcuffed, seething with anger at having his scheme ruined. Velma begins to share her suspicions after noticing a piece of fan mail addressed to Elvira. Next, the gang follows traces of leaking gas with an air quality meter. But Velma is shocked to discover that Crane only stole the drones and has nothing to do with the gas leak. Even worse, before being taken away, Crane warns that they are both caught in the same trap. Afterward, the mystery machine is towed away for heavy repairs, its battered state breaking Fred's heart. But sorrow never lasts long, because soon the gang splits up to enjoy the Halloween festival. Unexpectedly, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy stumble upon a box of Scooby snacks. While fidgeting restlessly, Shaggy accidentally drops the box, and when they search for it, the two friends stumble upon a downed drone they had shot earlier. Right in front of them also stands a crashed chemical waste truck leaking toxic fluid into a nearby pumpkin patch. As they creep closer to investigate, the pumpkins suddenly mutate into monstrous creatures. In a panic, Shaggy tries to ride Scooby-Doo like a horse, but Scooby-Doo tries to do the same to him. One by one, the pumpkins transform into vicious beasts, and their alpha roars out the order to capture Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Meanwhile, Velma, Fred, and Daphne have just finished enjoying the Halloween festival when the sheriff suddenly shows up. He sternly warns the three of them not to keep throwing themselves into such dangerous business, telling them to leave these matters to the proper authorities. If anything else happens, they will have to take full responsibility. Although they hear the sheriff's warning, the gang believes there is nothing to fear, since they already caught the villain. After the sheriff leaves, Velma, Fred, and Daphne unexpectedly receive candy from little Michelle as a thank you for saving her town of Crystal Cove, and her father Mike promises to lend Mystery Inc. his help anytime in the future. Then during Elvira's interview, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy suddenly burst onto the scene, panic written all over their faces. They breathlessly claim they have just seen pumpkins turning into monsters and warn everyone that those creatures are heading straight toward Crystal Cove. The atmosphere is getting tense, so Velma steps forward to calm everyone. She insists that Scooby-Doo and Shaggy probably just ate too much candy and are having sugar-induced hallucinations. She doesn't believe a word of their story and promptly orders them to clean themselves up. Daphne kindly takes charge, helping Scooby-Doo and Shaggy wash and tidy up so they at least look presentable, while Velma and Fred stay busy finishing the interview. No sooner has the reporter left than Fred turns anxiously to his beloved van, worried sick about whether he can ever pay the mountain of repair bills. At that exact moment, his phone rings. It is Bill Nye, the famous American scientist who often lends a hand to Mystery Inc. Bill explains that he saw them solve the Jonathan Crane case on TV and has prepared a special surprise. A brand new high-tech van, designed in the familiar style of the Mystery Machine. He proudly calls it the Mystery Machine X. Besides all the state-of-the-art equipment, it also comes with a virtual assistant, through which Bill Nye himself will be able to support the gang from afar, while Velma is absolutely thrilled by the shiny new van. Fred is far less impressed as his heart still belongs to the old Mystery Machine. But before they can argue further, Both hear terrified screams and rush to investigate. Reporters on the scene cry out that they have seen monstrous pumpkins attacking people. Elsewhere, Daphne bumps into Elvira. Unable to hide her admiration, she blurts out that she would love to become Elvira's assistant, and to her amazement, Elvira agrees. Meanwhile, Shaggy starts doubting his own mind, convincing himself that maybe the pumpkin monsters were nothing but his imagination. Yet the moment he sits down on a pumpkin, it suddenly springs to life beneath him. At the same time, Velma and Fred follow the reporter's directions and arrive where the pumpkin monsters are on the rampage. An elderly woman barely manages to escape, but Velma and Fred do not expect that as soon as the Alpha puts the old lady into its mouth, a pumpkin in her shape appears. Then an army of pumpkin monsters quickly gathers to capture Velma and Fred. Meanwhile, Daphne is trying her best to protect Elvira. On her own, Daphne can easily defeat all the pumpkin monsters to create a chance to escape. But neither Daphne nor Elvira expect that the pumpkin monsters still want to chase them to the very end. At the same time, Scooby-Doo helps Shaggy escape from the pumpkin monster that is biting his butt, and the two quickly disguise themselves to avoid its attention. Just as Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are breathing a sigh of relief, the town of Crystal Cove suddenly loses power. Right after that, they see Velma and Fred trying to run away from the Alpha, so they also run after them. Before long, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy run into a cornfield, and at last they escape from the Alpha, but the two do not expect that the town of Crystal Cove is now being torn apart by the pumpkin monsters. Not only that, the Alpha has already found the location of Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Just at that critical moment, Daphne and Elvira suddenly appear to knock the Alpha away. Next, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy want to reunite with the Mystery Inc., but the ground suddenly cracks open. The town of Crystal Cove is split into many pieces. So Mike and Michelle have no choice but to take Scooby-Doo and Shaggy into the car to escape. Meanwhile, the Alpha wakes up, forcing Velma and Fred to push their limits to get away from it. As soon as Mystery Inc. leaves the town of Crystal Cove, the whole place collapses completely. Not only that, the Alpha and the other pumpkin monsters appear right behind them. Velma quickly informs Bill Nye about the situation, but all Fred cares about is that his beloved car has been left behind. Then Velma recalls the events that happened and realizes that the mystery of the haunted scarecrow coincides with the mystery of the pumpkin monsters. Toxic waste and gas have caused the cornfields to mutate. Based on Bill Nye's findings, there was once a period when people mined lithium under the town of Crystal Cove, but that activity was quickly stopped because it harmed the environment. Meanwhile, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are eating and drinking to calm themselves down. But no one expects that the Alpha and the other pumpkin monsters now have cars of their own to give chase. Because their vehicle crashes into a parade float, Daphne and Elvira are left behind, with no other choice. Daphne grabs a blowtorch to cut the rope connecting them to the remaining car, but in a moment of carelessness she drops the blowtorch, leading to a dangerous situation. Luckily, she stomps on the rope just in time to break free and escape from the brink of disaster. At the same time, Velma discovers weapons hidden inside the Mystery Machine X. And as a result, before long, the Alpha and the pumpkin monsters are left behind. Just when everyone thinks they have won, the monsters suddenly return stronger than before. Velma wonders whether they are truly pumpkins, so Scooby-Doo and Shaggy taste them and confirm that they are indeed pumpkins. Then Shaggy asks Velma if she is scared, but she immediately denies it, even though fear itself is nothing bad. Velma still refuses to admit it because she trusts in science. She believes science will prove that the Alpha and the pumpkin monsters are nothing more than human creations, but for now Velma still cannot think of any solution. Suddenly she remembers Jonathan Crane's words about both of them being trapped in the same snare. Soon after, the group reaches the sheriff's car, hoping to speak with Jonathan Crane to solve the mystery behind it all. But the sheriff insists that Crane belongs to the federal government, so he cannot help. Before long, the pumpkin monsters close in from behind and capture the sheriff. Realizing that time is running out, Velma decides to take a bold risk. She activates airplane mode, and instantly the Mystery Machine X launches her into the air. Meanwhile, Fred is struggling to escape from the pumpkin monsters. Suddenly, the Alpha appears driving his beloved car, which makes Fred burst into rage. Elsewhere, Mike and Michelle's car is being surrounded by pumpkin monsters, although Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are extremely terrified. Thanks to the Scooby snacks, they gain enough courage to rush out and fight back. At the same time, Velma manages to catch up to the federal car. She politely knocks on the door and asks to meet Jonathan Crane, and Agent Malarkey immediately agrees. Velma quickly gets straight to the point when she asks Jonathan Crane why he attacks the town of Crystal Cove. His answer surprises her. because his plan is simply to meet his idol Elvira, and he has no intention of attacking at all. It turns out that from the very beginning he is right when he says that he and Velma are both trapped in the same snare, but their conversation is suddenly interrupted when the pumpkin monsters cut the federal car in half. Meanwhile, Daphne and Elvira's car is covered with pumpkin monsters, so the two of them decide to swap costumes in order to keep Elvira safe. At the same time, Fred notices that Mike and Michelle's car is also swarmed with pumpkin monsters, so he orders the Mystery Machine X to rescue them. He then wants to activate combat mode, and the Mystery Machine X immediately brings out its weapons, but Fred doesn't expect that at the most critical moment. The Mystery Machine X suddenly runs out of energy. Misfortune piles on misfortune because the Alpha is chasing them closely. Meanwhile, the federal car has been split in two by the pumpkin monsters, and Agent Malarkey is swallowed whole into the Alpha's stomach. Just then, Daphne and Elvira's car appears to save Scooby-Doo and Shaggy. Velma chooses to trust Jonathan Crane and rescues him too, but things do not go as smoothly as she hopes since the pumpkin monsters keep closing in. As a result, Velma has to fight hard to destroy them. At the same time, the Alpha reaches the Mystery Machine X. Just as it is about to swallow Fred and Mike and Michelle, Velma shows up at the right moment to save all three, but the Alpha still refuses to let them go. When Velma is at her most desperate, Jonathan Crane appears in a haunted scarecrow costume to help. While he distracts the monsters, Velma quickly takes everyone to Daphne and Elvira's car, seeing that they are finally safe, so Jonathan Crane strikes. He ties the Alpha's head to the castle behind them, bringing it down once and for all. Witnessing this, Elvira cannot help but praise Jonathan Crane as a talented villain, but something unexpected happens. Fred's beloved Mystery Machine suddenly explodes right before his eyes. Not only that, Jonathan Crane is also captured by the Alpha right in front of everyone. Bad luck continues because their only car runs out of gas, forcing them to abandon it and run for their lives. With no other choice, they dash straight into the nearby forest. Suddenly, Velma apologizes to everyone for failing to solve the mystery. She admits she has become too arrogant and ignored the sheriff's warning. Mystery Inc. has already been exhausted ever since they captured Cutler Toe's trash monster. Worse still, when they arrested the wrong person because Jonathan Crane only wanted to meet Elvira. But the others comfort Velma, telling her that thanks to her they have solved many mysteries. Then Fred decides to do what he does best, which is setting traps to catch the people hiding behind the monster masks, and also to take revenge for his destroyed mystery machine. At the same time, Velma keeps trying to connect the events of the past to uncover the answer to this mystery. Seeing her struggle, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy offer to help, giving Velma a Scooby snack. Thanks to it, the minds of all three link together. Within that bond, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy support Velma as she goes back through time to search for clues. But all they find is a single name printed on the drone. Velma still doesn't know what it means when Fred suddenly wakes her up, because the pumpkin monsters have found them. Although it is still not proven what these pumpkin monsters really are, Velma holds a strong belief in Mystery Inc., certain that they will eventually solve this mystery. Meanwhile, the pumpkin monsters reach the forest, unaware that Fred has already gone one step ahead of them by setting countless traps along the path. Even though the number of enemies decreases significantly, everyone still has to step forward and fight. A battle becomes inevitable between Mystery Inc. and the pumpkin monsters. While the others are busy raising their weapons, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy choose to hide. But the enemies are too many and their side is far too few, so before long everyone is cornered. The moment the Alpha appears, Velma admits that she is afraid, not afraid of the monster standing right before her, but afraid that her friends will be disappointed in her. As soon as she says this, Velma rushes straight into the Alpha's mouth, leaving everyone stunned. Suddenly, Fred hears Velma's voice, telling him to use the drone control device they built when facing Jonathan Crane. At last, the mystery of the pumpkin monsters is solved by Velma. The names on the drones turn out to represent two chemical elements, aluminum and lithium, both very light yet strong enough to carry heavy objects. As for the people who have been turned into pumpkin monsters, they are right here. The moment they are swallowed by the Alpha, the internal system steals their personal belongings in order to disguise itself as them. On top of that, the electromagnetic pulse disrupts electronic devices, ensuring that no one can contact the outside world. Jonathan Crane is right. Someone has set him up to distract Mystery Inc. Based on what Bill Nye provides, someone has deliberately arranged for the town of Crystal Cove to collapse and driven everyone away. That way he has plenty of time to mine the lithium and create this chaos to cover it up. But Velma doesn't expect that he has already fled with the freshly mined lithium, leaving behind only a hologram to mock Mystery Inc. It turns out that the one behind everything is the sheriff, but the sheriff everyone knows is nothing more than a disguise of Cuddler Toe, who was once unmasked by Mystery Inc. After they ruined his plan with the trash monster. He was sent to jail and lost half of his shares. To make things worse, scientists announced that his lithium mine would cause environmental pollution, and so he lost everything. While in prison, he spent his time planning revenge against Mystery Inc., starting with his technology admirer Jonathan Crane. Next, he used the last of his money to invest in drones and disguised himself as the sheriff of Crystal Cove. Taking advantage of this position, he made Mystery Inc. doubt their own abilities. When the opportunity became ripe, he immediately deployed robotic drills to extract lithium while the townspeople were evaluated. As for the so-called nuclear waste, Cuddler Toe simply used glow sticks to fake it. He even praises Mystery Inc. for doing well, but now he has already escaped far from Crystal Cove. However, what Cuddler Toe does not expect is that with Bill Nye's help, Agent Malarkey soon pinpoints his location. Finally, the mystery of the scary Halloween night comes to an end. As Mystery Inc. wonders what they should do next, someone suddenly invites them to a party. With no reason to refuse, they agree, ready to enjoy the rest of Halloween night.